Normally I do a mini version of an already mini essay, but I wanted to change it up a little bit today. Today's video is going to be discussing my top 5 favorite Bedwars maps. This is exclusively solo, so let's get right into it. My 5th favorite map has to be Brutaxis. Now I know that might be a weird pick because its gameplay isn't necessarily great, but let's talk about it a bit. I am content with the aesthetic for this map, even if some would find it a little bit too simple. I think the contrast between white and black, as well as the custom assets that further complement this map, make for a decent looking experience. Most of the map design is pretty sound here, such as the middle being pretty open while still containing walls that allow you for some quick escapes if you are in a troubling situation, much like the corner islands that help you reach your second neighbor a little bit more conveniently. The only issue I'd have with map design here is how much I gotta kind of bite my fingers in order to reach Diamond Gen the first time running on just 16 blocks of wall. That can be a little bit of a nightmare, but everything else here is super sound, and I really think this map should get more appreciation because nobody seems to talk about it much. On to our next one. This is a bit of a mixed pick. I personally love Arrow, but I understand those who don't, because Arrow is a map of pure and utter chaos. The reason why this map is so crazy is that the neighbor who's actually sharing your Diamond Gen versus the neighbor who isn't require about the same amount of effort to reach, so either way you're gonna kill somebody and you're gonna kill somebody fast. This map is terrible for defense players, but for offensive players, this is a playground and we're gonna have some fun here. There's only 2 minor issues I have with Arrow, and one of them's not really an issue. The aesthetic doesn't really click with me because there's not a whole lot going on, and some of the dirt paths, which are less than a block tall, can be a little bit irritating when bridging on, but other than that, this map is great. Surprising to some, completely average to others, Castle is taking the bronze medal on my list of best maps. Why is that exactly? I like the aesthetic in this map, and that's saying something because I'm not much of a medieval guy, but here it's pulled off quite nicely, and that always makes me happy. It's also worth noting that I find the playstyles to be rather balanced in this map compared to others, where playing defensive or offensive is both an equally viable option. The islands that sit in between you and your far neighbor are great for offensive players. It's convenient, it's there, you can use it to your advantage, but nothing in this map is close enough to each other where the defensive players feel like they are overwhelmed by the amount of chaos going on around them. Defensive players have breathing room, and offensive players have a little bit of convenience. And that's the fine balance of this map, and that's a really good reason as to why I appreciate it, and it deserves number 3. In a hypothetical, if I ever made the top 5 most underrated maps in Bedwars, I'd probably put Warped at number 1, and I don't think many people would disagree. But, since this is best maps, Warped still gets a very respectable silver medal. Now, how this looks, how the aesthetic of Warped looks, is fantastic. It's super unique and super memorable, and it's just a shame that nobody talks about this map. Objectively, this map manages to do almost everything really well. It's got great design, great aesthetic, flows incredibly well. The only thing I would say objectively that would take away from this map would be that it caters to offensive players a little more because everything is a little bit too close together, but as an offensive player myself, screw objectivity, this map is wonderful. I love it. Surprise, surprise, most jaw-dropping pick of all time, I put Mushroom as my number 1 favorited map. Now, I could end the video here, or I could give you very obvious reasons as to why I love this map. Well, you're here to listen to me, so let's list those obvious reasons. Aesthetically, this map is so ridiculously simple and honest with you. You vote Mushroom, and guess what? There's nothing but mushrooms here. Mushroom houses, giant, mushrooms, it's just mushrooms everywhere. But what's amazing about it is it looks so colorful and vibrant. This is one of the most lively looking maps on the Hive ever. And it's been that way for years. The aesthetic here is lovely, you agree, I agree, let's move on. Mushroom achieves something I'd like to call controlled chaos. Where Arrow was so simple just to connect to every island with little bits of parkour here and there, Mushroom does manage to space out a little bit while staying true to that offensive sort of playstyle. To put it in a disgustingly horrifying metaphor, take it this way. Arrow is when you open a blender, you put in an Xbox controller, a Wii console, batteries, chocolate chips, peanut butter, hot sauce, urine, shit, and you mix it all together. A true embodiment of chaos beyond fathomability, if that's even a word. Mushroom's version of chaos wants to copy that idea but make it much more tame. Mushroom just wants to put the pizza slice in the blender. Now, will it taste good? Probably. Will it be a little gross? Yes. Is it chaotic? Yes. But it's more controlled. Now, terrible metaphors aside, I do love this map. I'm sure you likely do too. Maybe not so much if you're a defensive player, but for you offensive players out there, this map is a treat for all of us. And despite its age compared to some other maps, it is a deserved and renowned classic.